Adiz and Amara were the kind of sisters people envied. Born just 11 months apart, they looked like twins. Same deep-set brown eyes, radiant smile, and the caramel skin their late mother used to moisturize with raw shea butter under the early morning sun. They grew up in Enugu, in a modest bungalow filled with love and struggle. Their father, a retired civil servant, did his best to raise them after their mother died during childbirth. The tragedy had welded the girls together in an unspoken pact. We only have each other. By their 20s, Adiz had become a vibrant fashion designer, with a small but buzzing online boutique. Amara, on the other hand, was calm and calculated, a law student at UNN with a sharp mind and a sharper tongue when defending her big sister. They were inseparable, or so it seemed. Things started to change after Amara began dating Uchenna. Uchenna was charming, ambitious, and dangerously persuasive. He came into their lives like the harmattan, soft at first, then painfully dry. Adiz had an uneasy feeling about him, one she tried to ignore for Amara's sake. One Sunday afternoon, while styling a client in her small studio, Adiz overheard a phone conversation between Uchenna and someone else. She froze. "I don't love Amara. It's her sister I want, Adiz. But I need to keep this relationship going to get her family's land documents. She's too trusting." Adiz's heart dropped. She clutched her phone tightly and trembled. That land was their late mother's only inheritance, undeveloped, but highly valuable now due to new estate projects nearby. Should she tell Amara? Break her heart? Or wait and watch? She made a choice that would change everything. She said nothing. Days turned into weeks. Adiz started distancing herself from Uchenna. He, in turn, intensified his manipulation, making Amara feel like her sister was jealous and possessive. Amara noticed the tension. "What is it, Ada? Are you hiding something from me?" "No, I'm just tired. Business stress." The lie hurt more than the truth. Meanwhile, Uchenna began pressuring Amara to convince their father to sign over the deed of the land for a business project he wanted to run. Amara, deeply in love and blinded, agreed. That evening, Adiz found the deed in the living room table drawer. Panic gripped her chest. She couldn't sleep. She made a secret photocopy of it and hid it in the lining of her box. Then she began tracking Uchenna, hiring someone anonymously to dig into his past. What she discovered was chilling. He was married in Port Harcourt. He had a daughter. He'd been accused of fraud twice, but charges were dropped mysteriously. She had to act fast. Adiz confronted Amara one rainy night. "Amara, I need to tell you something. It's about Uchenna." Amara's eyes darkened. "Don't even start. You've been acting weird since we got together. You're jealous. Admit it." "No. I have proof. Uchenna is married. He's scamming us." Amara slapped her. It was the first time their bond cracked openly. "Leave. Relationship. Alone," Amara said, her voice shaking with rage and pain. The next morning, Adiz left the house. 3 weeks passed. Their father suffered a mild stroke after a heated conversation with Uchenna, who had pressed him again to sign the documents. Amara started to see the truth, but shame and guilt locked her lips. Her world crumbled when Uchenna vanished one evening, with her savings and a fake address. Amara tried calling Adiz. No answer. The silence between them grew heavier than the grief of their mother's passing. She realized she didn't just lose a boyfriend. She was losing her only sister. Then one morning Adiz returned. Not to gloat, not to fight, but with evidence. Police reports, fake IDs, and copies of every message Uchenna had sent to his accomplice. She had protected her, even from herself. A week after Uchenna vanished, the sisters began speaking again, carefully like walking barefoot over shattered glass. Their father was recovering, but his health remained fragile. Regret lingered in the air like perfume that refused to fade. One morning, while cleaning out their mother's old box in the attic, Amara stumbled on something strange. A set of letters bound with red thread, addressed Ngozio, their mother's maiden name. The letters were from Dr. Ikechukwu, their family doctor, dated a month before her death. She read one aloud in shock. "Ngozi, I told you to tell the girls the truth. They deserve to know who their real father is. Keeping secrets to protect them may destroy them. The man in your house is not their biological father, and one day, someone will come looking." Amara gasped. Her hands trembled. Adiz came running in. She read the letter and slowly sank to the floor. "Daddy isn't our real father." They were both speechless. Suddenly, the reason behind many little things made sense. Why he never showed old baby pictures, why he avoided hospitals, why he always said, "Your mother was the light of this house, not me." That night, Adiz couldn't sleep. 1,000 questions flooded her mind. Who was their real father? Why had their mother lied? And, was someone really coming to look for them? It began with a knock at the gate. A dark-skinned woman in her mid-50s stood outside, wrapped in a faded Ankara scarf. She introduced herself as Chinyere Okoye, a nurse from Nsukka. "I came to see Ngozi's children," she said quietly. They were cautious but let her in. Chinyere sat down and unfolded a piece of newspaper from 1999. Inside it was a photograph. A tall man in military uniform, Captain Aneo Obiora. He had the same high cheekbones as Amara and the same eyes as Adiz. "That was your real father," Chinyere said. She explained how Ngozi had fallen in love with the officer while working as a nurse during her NYSC. But his family disapproved of her because she was from a poor background. He was forced into an arranged marriage, and Ngozi returned to Enugu heartbroken and pregnant. When she later married Chief Nwokoye, the man they knew as Papa, she passed the girls off as his children. "Captain Obiora searched for years," Chinyere said softly. "But when he finally found her again, she had already passed. He died last year. Of cancer. But before he died, he asked me to find his daughters." Amara couldn't speak. Adiz fought back tears. "What now?" Amara finally asked. Chinyere handed them a letter addressed to "my daughters." It ended with the words, "You may never know me, but I've always loved you. Your strength, your beauty, your brilliance, those are the gifts your mother and I gave you. Never forget who you are." Weeks passed. The family began to rebuild. But something had changed. Amara, driven by guilt and a deep need to fix her mistakes, began volunteering at a women's advocacy center in Enugu. She saw women who had suffered even worse than she had. Women battered, manipulated, discarded. She decided to turn her experience into purpose. Adiz, meanwhile, was blossoming. She launched a new clothing line called Bloodline, themed around sisterhood and strength. The collection sold out within weeks. The media started calling them the Obiora sisters, after they gave an emotional interview on NTA Enugu. But not everyone was happy about their rising success. One day, they received a message from an unknown number. "Ngozi's secrets aren't finished. You think Uchenna was the end. You don't know who he was working for." Amara tried to trace the number. It led nowhere. But then, during a business event at Nike Lake Resort, Adiz spotted someone in the crowd. A man in a crisp navy blue kaftan, talking to the deputy commissioner. She couldn't see his face clearly, but her instincts screamed. She nudged Amara. "That man, something isn't right." Later that night, they checked their old CCTV footage. The day Uchenna first came to visit. There, standing at the gate with him, was that same man. They ran a facial recognition scan using a friend's tech app. The results came back. Chidi Nwokoye, son of Chief Nwokoye. Their supposed father's real biological child. From a secret second marriage. The real enemy wasn't Uchenna. It was their stepbrother. The more they looked into Chidi Nwokoye, the darker things became. Chidi was born during a short business trip their father had taken to Kano in the early 90s, before their mother's death. The woman, Stella, had been just 19 at the time, and Chief Nwokoye never publicly acknowledged the child. But he paid for Chidi's education. Secretly. Now in his 30s, Chidi had become a ruthless businessman, known for property disputes, land grabbing, and underground dealings. He wasn't just jealous of the sisters' inheritance. He believed everything should belong to him, especially the ancestral land their mother had left behind. A trusted staff member at the Ministry of Land revealed Chitty had been trying to bribe his way into getting the land papers reassigned. He had even used Uchenna as a front, thinking the girls were too naive to suspect anything. But Adiz wasn't naive anymore. And Amara had found her strength. The sisters knew what they had to do. Protect what was theirs. Fight for their legacy. One morning, their father's nurse collapsed suddenly while preparing his meal. By evening she was dead. The toxicology report revealed she had ingested poison, meant for someone else. Someone had tampered with the food. The sisters were shaken. Amara looked at Adiz with fresh fear in her eyes. He wants to kill us. That night, Adiz began sleeping with a kitchen knife under her pillow. Amara changed all the house locks and installed hidden cameras. A few days later, Chitty sent a message through his lawyer. Surrender the land, or lose everything. I don't bluff. The war had begun. They needed legal protection. Amara turned to one of her professors, Barrister Ezenwa, a retired judge known for his zero tolerance for injustice. He helped them file a restraining order and launch a legal case against Chitty for fraudulent land dealings, harassment, and attempted extortion. But court battles in Nigeria were slow, messy, and often dangerous. One evening, after submitting key documents, Adiz's car was rammed by an unmarked vehicle near Independence Layout. She escaped with minor bruises, but now it was clear. Chitty was playing dirty. Ezenwa gave them a warning. You're not just in a legal fight. You're in a fight for your lives. Be careful. In the midst of the chaos, Amara uncovered something unexpected in their mother's old Bible, a handwritten letter tucked inside Psalm 91. It was addressed to Chief Nwokoi. I know the girls are not your blood, but you have loved them like your own. If anything happens to me, please raise them with truth. Don't let secrets destroy them. We both have made mistakes. Let the girls be free. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. Maybe Chief Nwokoi hadn't been perfect, but he had chosen to love them anyway. That night, she sat beside their father, now barely speaking after his second stroke. She whispered, "We forgive you, Papa. And we'll make sure your name is remembered for good." The sisters decided to flip the script. They set a trap. Adiz contacted Chitty's right-hand man, pretending to be desperate. She claimed she wanted to settle quietly, and would meet to hand over the land documents. The meeting was set for 9 p.m. at a remote estate road. But what Chitty didn't know was that the girls had informed a detective friend, Inspector Onyuha, who came undercover with a hidden team, body cameras, and evidence recorders. As Chitty arrived demanding the papers, he unknowingly confessed on camera to plotting the poisoning, paying Uchenna, bribing ministry officials. He laughed. I would have gotten away with it if your stupid mother didn't hide everything. That laugh faded when red and blue lights flashed across the dark road. Chitty was arrested. Took months, but justice came. Chitty was sentenced to 15 years for attempted murder, land fraud, and conspiracy. His mother, Stella, fled the state after journalists exposed the scandal. The sisters returned to their quiet life, but nothing would ever be the same. Amara completed her law degree and opened a women's legal resource center, helping victims of abuse and fraud. Adiz expanded her fashion brand into a non-profit, teaching young girls fashion design and business ethics for free. At their center's launch event, a journalist asked, "After everything you went through, what kept you going?" Adiz smiled. "We lost a lot, but we never lost each other." Amara nodded. Sisterhood saved us. Months passed, and peace slowly returned. The Sisters Foundation, Sister Circle, gained recognition both locally and abroad. They received grants from NGOs, spoke at universities, and were featured in Guardian Women, Arise TV, and even CNN Africa. But one Thursday afternoon, as Adiz was reviewing new applications for her fashion mentorship program, A package arrived with no return address. It was an envelope. Inside, a photograph of Uchenna, alive and smiling in a restaurant in Cotonou. A bank statement showing regular deposits into an offshore account. And a final note. Sometimes the enemy you fight is a puppet. The real master never steps on the battlefield. Adiz felt like her lungs had collapsed. She ran to Amara. Together they went through the documents. There were coded account numbers and transfer initials. One of them stood out. A.O. Wait, Amara whispered, her face pale. That's my initials. They were shaken. Could Amara have been involved? Was her identity used? Or was someone framing her? They ran a digital trace on the bank account trail with the help of Inspector Anyuha. What they discovered was more terrifying than anything yet. The last deposit, Nigerian naira 3 million, came from a politician in Abuja who had ties to Chitty's circle. And then a CCTV clip surfaced. Uchenna had attended a private dinner event just 2 weeks ago, with a woman who looked eerily like Nurse Chinyere, the same woman who claimed she was sent by their father's dead lover. What if she lied? Amara said. What if this was all bigger than we thought? Adiz replied. The investigation reopened. Turns out, Nurse Chinyere was never a registered nurse. She was part of a fraud ring that specialized in inheritance theft. Her job: find vulnerable families with land or wealth, infiltrate with emotional stories, and manipulate them to sign over properties. She and Uchenna were never strangers. They had orchestrated everything, from the Captain Obiora story to the fake deathbed letter, to using Chitty's greed as a distraction. The twist: their mother had no known affair. She died with secrets. But not that one. The DNA test the sisters finally did confirmed Chief Nwokoi was indeed their biological father. Everything had been built on a lie. But a lie crafted to break them. It broke them, but not completely. Yes, they had been lied to. Yes, they had trusted the wrong people. Yes, their names were dragged in the mud, and their wounds reopened. But through it all, they still had each other. They doubled their security. They cleared their names publicly. They sued the fraud ring with the help of international lawyers and exposed a larger syndicate involved in property scams across Nigeria, Benin, and Ghana. In the end, truth was not what saved them. Sisterhood did. 6 months later, a soft harmattan breeze blew across the hills of Enugu. The sun dipped low, casting golden streaks over the lawn where Sister Circle Foundation celebrated its anniversary. There were women from all walks of life: students, single mothers, abuse survivors, artisans, widows, and warriors. All gathered under canopies decorated in lilac and white, sipping zobo and chin-chin, watching Adiz and Amara step up to the stage. Adiz wore a sleek dress she designed, bold patterns of Nsibidi symbols stitched into the fabric. Amara stood beside her in a flowing white jumpsuit, holding the mic. She took a breath and began. People say sisterhood is a bond made of blood. But that's only half the truth. Sometimes sisterhood is built in the fire of betrayal, shaped by loss and sealed by healing. We've been lied to, targeted, even poisoned, Adiz added, her voice steady. But we rose. Not because we are perfect, but because we chose to rise together. The crowd clapped. Some women wept. Behind them, a screen displayed before and after photos of the girls they'd trained, the businesses they'd helped start, the legal battles they'd fought and won. It was more than a celebration. It was a movement. As they walked off the stage, hand in hand, Amara whispered, "You know, if Mama could see us now, she'd be proud." Adiz smiled. "She already does." Later that night, Adiz sat alone in her room, holding an old letter they found in Papa's wallet after his death. A letter he never gave them. "My girls, if I've failed in truth, I pray I didn't fail in love. I chose to raise you not because I had to, but because my heart knew you were mine. I hope one day you'll forgive my silence. I wanted to protect you. You both are the best thing I ever did right. Keep standing tall for each other." Adiz folded the letter, tears falling onto the ink. Not all stories need perfect answers. Not all truths come clean. But some love, the real kind, finds its way through the ruins. And for Adiz and Amara, that love was called sisterhood.
Kindly subscribe, like, and comment for more interesting stories.